In case you didn't know, Madden has released their new Scouting Overhaul for Madden 22, and after playing about 20 hours of it, I kind of felt a little underwhelmed. I ran a poll on the channel and most of you seemed that you liked it, but there was not an overwhelming response of people who actually loved it. And then it got me wondering, what could Madden do to actually improve this update? Simple things that could fix this and make this a more enjoyable experience for me and for you. Let's talk about 10 that I came up with that I think are really easy to implement and Madden should implement right now. So the first thing that I think Madden should do that's easy, that helps with the immersion of the draft process, is have college stats on the player's profile. These stats are nowhere to be found currently, and with the integration of NCAA coming hopefully next year, I think this would be a great thing for Madden to go ahead and implement right now so that when NCAA comes out, it's already a feature that's implemented. They don't have to do a lot of work, and it's just a simple thing that we can go back and look at the college players, see what their stats was, and it would actually help with the immersion and decide whether we want to draft them or not. The second thing that I think they should do is add more focused scouting. Really, if you take private workouts and focus scouting, you only get 6 opportunities to really scout a player, and I just don't think that's enough. If you look at the average amount of scouts per team, and I found this online, it looks like there's about 20 scouts per NFL team. Now, currently in Madden, you only get 4. So I think there should be more scouts in place, or give more abilities to those 4 scouts so they can go out in different areas of the region and scout more players. I think just having 3 focused sessions throughout the entire year is not enough for us franchise players who really want to get our hands on these prospects and kind of figure out if they're worth scouting or not. I think the third thing that Madden can implement really easy is interviews with the players. Much like we do if you're a GM of a team and you get asked a press conference, it doesn't have to be a cut scene. Doesn't need to be players. It can be just something simple on a blank screen where we're asking them questions and they give us responses. Again, this is something very simple. It's a very big thing in the draft process. You always hear every year that players get asked these really weird questions just to see how they respond. I think this is a simple thing that Madden could do, but again, it adds so much more immersion into the game and realism, and I think that's just lacking with this scouting update. The fourth thing that I think Madden should do is make draft stories more accessible in the actual scout menu. If you find a player that you like, you have to go all the way back out to the main menu. You have to go over to news. You have to look through the stories. You have to filter the draft stories to figure out what players are actually getting publicized. I think there should be another tab added along with skills and attributes. There should also be another tab that says stories. If there are any related stories to this player, they could just be posted right there, so we don't have to exit out of this menu, go through, try to find more draft stories about a player, then go back, add them on our draft board, make sure they get scouted. It's just too many steps, and I feel like it's not streamlined like it should be. The fifth thing that I think Madden could add is private workout stats. At the end of the year, when you actually get to do these private workouts, really the only thing that gets changed is the percentage of that scout's completion on that player. You actually don't get any additional information. Now, I know if I was a GM or a scout or a coach in the NFL, if I brought in a player, I'm going to run them through a workout. And there are some things in workouts that you can definitively find out about a player. One of those things could be speed. You can actually find out how fast a guy is. You can find out their awareness, their actual player IQ. You can figure out how good at catching they are, route running, blocking, technique. All of these things can be found in a private workout. And I feel like that if you do a private workout, if you spend one of only 3 chances that you get on this player, then there should be some type of reward that you get out of it. Meaning you should figure out how fast they are, definitively a number grade on that. You should figure out how well their pass blocking is, a number grade, how good their route running is, because these are definitive things that you can actually figure out from a private workout. Another simple thing that could be added is actual medical information. Is this a player who gets hurt a lot? Is he injury prone? What is his medical history? Have they had a lot of lower leg injuries or concussions? That would be a really cool feature, again, that adds a lot more immersion to the game, and I don't think would take a lot of work on Madden's part. The seventh thing that I think they could actually implement is that I think the focus for each position or group for a scout is too narrow. Now, I understand that there are some scouts in the NFL that are really good at determining a player's skill level at a certain position, but for other positions, I feel like it should be a little bit more broad. Instead of it just being offensive tackle or guard, it should just be offensive line. Instead of it being corner or safety, it should just be DB. Maybe instead of linebackers or D-line, it could be front 7. Or maybe it could be something specific as finding players who are fast or strong or have intangibles. I think having different roles and expanding upon those for each scout will make scouting a little bit more easier, and we can actually figure out out of 450 prospects who we want to target at the end of the year with those private workouts. The 8th thing that I think Madden could also add is a player comparison. How cool would that be if you know you're getting ready to draft a quarterback and their player comparison is Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford? Those would be really cool comparisons that Madden could do. They could just take the attributes of that player, kind of give a projection of where they're going to end up and match it with someone who is currently in Madden right now. That would be a very simple thing to do, and then we would have an idea of what type of player we would potentially get if we drafted them. The 9th thing that I think Madden should change or update is that bringing on scouts, firing them, and replacing them is just too easy, and there are no negative consequences for this. I think there should be some type of cap penalty that happens if you fire a coach before the end of the season, or a scout, I'm sorry. And for a reward for keeping them, I think that their scouting focus and their abilities should progress over the course of time that they're with you or that team. And this brings me to my 10th thing that I think that Madden should implement at the new scouting update is build on scouts. Make scouts better. Your tier 1 scouts might turn into a tier 2 and you can no longer keep them. Or if they develop with you, you have the potential to keep them. But if they get released or if they get poached from another team because another team wants to pay them more money, then you have to start over with a tier 1 scout all over again. I also think building upon the scouts in a sense of making them more specific to each position group. So maybe finding the strongest offensive lineman, maybe finding the fastest wide receivers, maybe finding the most arm talent at the quarterback position would be a cool little niche talent for each prospect and make them a little bit more valuable than just say someone who is just good at scouting quarterbacks. And maybe with your team and scheme and playbook, that's what you're really after. But there you go. There are 10 things that I think that Madden could easily do to make the scouting update a lot more enjoyable and change that I just liked it or feeling underwhelmed to something that we actually love. And if you want 16 tips on the new update, make sure to check out this video right here, and I'll catch everybody later.